Hours. Which side are you on? This is the Daily Dozen, presented by Champions Round.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest edition of Daily Dozen, presented by Champions Round. I am your host, Dan Turner, because everyone else is on vacation. Joining me, I managed to find a wonderful co-host for today. Please welcome, everyone, Ray Mars, contributor with Roto Underworld and Player Profiler. What is up, Ray?
What's going on? Very good to be back on the airwaves. Been a little bit of a while for me, so I'm not too rusty. So as we go through some props, I
yes, absolutely. I appreciate you being one of the only other people that didn't go to Canton to be able to do this. So thank you for that.
I do my best. Get the people what they want.
Exactly. So we're just going to jump right into the props. We're in the midst of football season. Our first, couple of preseason games were yesterday. We did pretty well on the props. We completely messed up on the over-unders on those games because the Giants and Patriots and the Titans and Ravens decided they wanted to score points. So, can't always get them right, but hopefully, today we can do a little bit better. So let's just jump right into it. So the first prop we have is the Jaguars versus the Browns. Total points at 37.5. Ray, what do you think over or under on that?
This might kind of bleed into one of the other props we're talking about, but I think a lot of where to take the over under in this game is going to depend on, maybe it would depend on Deshaun Watson, because I think there's an outside chance that they could throw down a suspension for the year on him today. They add on to what he's already got. And if that's the case, I feel like if they don't do that, they're going to want him to play as much as possible in case that announcement comes sooner rather than later. And again, preseason, I'd say normally a starting quarterback wouldn't play that much, but Watson hasn't played in a very long time. So I could see him playing enough, maybe leading a scoring drive or two to have kind of push this thing towards the over. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I happen to agree. I think that, you made a great point. He hasn't played for a long time, like over a year at this point. So they're going to want to get him acclimated back into the league just in case, whatever happens with his legal situation, if he ends up playing or not. I think the experience would be pretty valuable for him. Jacoby Brissett is the backup, so he could probably get some work as well. And he's a decent quarterback, so he should be able to score some points. And with the Jaguars, you have Trevor Lawrence, who might get some work, and then CJ Beathard, who has, played a little bit in the league. So I think that, based on what happened yesterday, I think that's probably pretty safe that this is over as well. It is a little bit higher because yesterday the total points were around 33 to 31. So this is a little bit higher than yesterday. But I think that, like you said, Watson's going to get a decent amount of work. So I'm pretty comfortable taking the over on this one as well. Next. All right. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, total passing yards, 46.5. I'll take this one first. I think, going back to your point, I think this is an easy over. I think he's going to get, a decent amount of work. 46 yards is basically maybe like 2 drives worth. So even if he gets like 2-3 drives, they're going to want him to pass because they don't really need to run the ball. I mean, they all the running backs, have experience running the ball. Nick Chubb doesn't need preseason work or Kareem Hunt or Ernest Johnson or something like that. So I really think that that Watson will hit the over pretty easily on this one.
I think I'm with you there. Again, that's if he doesn't get suspended. I think then you kind of just have to throw this one out the window. But, playing, the only way he probably doesn't hit it is if he has maybe like only 2-3 drives and they really don't pass the ball a lot just to protect them. And he is working with a very new set of receivers. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of first team reps at receiver for the Browns with a lot of different guys as they kind of try to figure out what they're doing next to Amari Cooper, whether it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones or an Anthony Schwartz kind of rising out of the ashes to do something. A lot of directions that could go. So maybe the chemistry is there. Maybe they leave him on the field enough to get like into that like 50, 60-yard range is just my best bet, I feel like, for this.
Yeah. And I think, and we were talking about this yesterday, with drafting David Bell, a lot of these teams want to get their rookies a lot of work. So I expect to see him on the field a bunch this game as well. So that should definitely help, hit that total. Next, Trevor Lawrence, total passing yards, 49.5. What do you think about this one?
This one I'm going to lean more towards the under on for a couple of reasons that I can't really see Lawrence playing much more than maybe a series or two. And at the same time, the starting receivers too. I think Christian Kirk still kind of dealing with little bit of a rolled ankle. So I'm not sure how much of Marvin or Zay Jones we're going to end up seeing in this game. Maybe a lot of LaVisca, maybe a lot of some of these other guys. Maybe a dump off or two to ETN or James Robinson if they decide to let him play. But I don't think it's going to be enough to really kind of, I don't know. I can't. Is this higher than the Deshaun Watson total? I think it was by like
yes, it is by 3 yards.
All right, but I'm probably pretty fairly because Lawrence is rushing upside too. I think the under is a pretty safe bet here.
Yeah,
for however long he plays, series 2, whatever.
Right. So I tend to agree. I think that the Jaguars aren't going to risk Lawrence, getting hurt in a meaningless game. He might get, like you said, a drive, but I don't see him getting enough time in this game to get to that total so far. So I agree with you there, and I think that it will be the under as well. Nice. All right, Jets versus Eagles. Total points 35.5. So for me, for this, I think I'm going to go the over. I think that the Eagles have Gardner Minshew, Reed, Sinnett, and Carson Strong. So I think they're going to be Nick Sirianni's will be wanting to throw the ball more. See how the offense is going to look without as much rushing as there was last year. And for the Jets as well, they have a ton of new pieces coming in with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, et cetera. And they have Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson and Mike White at quarterback. So I really think, throughout the game, there's going to be enough decent passing to get to this point total on the over.
I think we're 4 for 4 now. I think I'm with you here too, because this total feels definitely a little low, considering that, especially compared to the last game we were just talking about, this is definitely a better backup quarterback situation between a Gardner Minshew, a Joe Flacco, like these guys that are going to see probably more of the playing time. Who knows if the first team offenses for either team lead a touchdown drive or two. But even still, I think there's enough. The Eagles are definitely loading up their depth at all the skill positions, especially. So I think that could be conducive towards scoring some points with like a Joe Flacco like Gardner Minshew at the helm for that. And I guess we'll see how deep the Jets' depth runs tonight as well. Once guys like Wilson and Breece Hall, if they play at all, are out of there, and kind of see what they're like. But the Eagles are. I think you probably have to give the depth edge to the Eagles, and that's just my on the surface opinion. So maybe that plays into things, but I think the over as well for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Jalen Hurts, total passing yards, 39.5. What do you think about that?
This feels a little low, but I'm also inclined to go under here just because I can't see them going to, outside of what we may see from them during the season as far as like the plays they're going to run too. A lot of this just might be getting some of these guys out there together on the field, like with AJ Brown out there maybe for a little bit, and just kind of like running some live plays, maybe not like going too crazy unless somebody breaks a long pass play. But I probably wouldn't bet on that too. Plus a lot of running backs, you got to figure out what's going on there with that backfield. Kind of see where the pecking order lies there. So I think I can see the Eagles, at least with the first team offense, leaning a little bit more run heavy while they're in. So I'm going under on here for Hurts.
I think this is the first time we're going to disagree on this. I'm going to go on the over. I think Sirianni said he's going to give a drive or two to the first team offense, and I think he's going to want Jalen to air it out a little bit more. I think he knows what Jalen can do with the running game and everything. And with AJ Brown, I think that Jalen is going to take a couple of shots to AJ, and if AJ can break one against the Jets defense, that's he can eat yards up with his yak. So I'm leaning the over, but I wouldn't be surprised if the under comes. But I think Hurts throws just enough to hit the over on this one. Zach Wilson with a slightly higher passing yards total at 42.5. I feel a little more confident with this one. I think it's going to be under. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to play enough to get to this total. Pretty much the same argument I had for Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll toss a couple of balls to Wilson, and and Moore and Davis, but then he's going to go and sit down and have Joe Flacco throw the ball around. So I think the under. I think like you said for Hurts, they have a bunch of new pieces. They're going to want people to get a couple reps together in live action and then call it a night. So I think I'm going to go under on this one.
I think it's a safe bet too. A lot of the reasons you mentioned too, like how long are they to keep him in, and again, like I just don't see too many of these like guys who are like the top receiving options getting a whole lot of yardage here. Maybe from for the first team offense is probably going to be more about formations and like seeing how things look on the field lined up and just seeing how certain plays are. That's so a lot of factors go into that. So yeah, and again, he's probably not going to play long enough to hit the over.
Right. Okay. Next, A.J. Brown, total receiving yards 16.5. What do you think about this one?
As low as this feels for A.J. Brown, I think I'm for the same reasons that I meant, feel Hurts could go under. I'm also going to say A.J. Brown. Again, with this one specifically, I mean, I think the way he hits the over here is if he has one or two catches that he just kind of takes and breaks a couple of tackles and just kind of makes, a play or two out of it. But I think, again, for a lot of these number one types, I think we're seeing, a couple of these early game stat lines for these, top flight receivers, maybe like one or two catches, 9, 10, 11 yards. But at the same time, A.J. Brown being with a new team, new quarterback, I can see him hitting the over on this definitely, because in any other situation, I think he's, you obviously smash. Not that you'd ever see a regular season game total at 16 yards for him, but
right per catch maybe, but yeah.
Sure.
This is actually my lock of the day. I think this is a way over. If Jalen Hurts is targeting A.J. Brown at any reasonable clip like he is in training camp, which is like 85%, then there's no way that A.J. Brown doesn't hit this over. If Hurts and Brown play at most 2 drives together and say Hurts throws like 10 passes, I expect AJ to get 8 of those targets. So I really don't think there's any real way that this goes below, which obviously means AJ Brown won't even play today. So, but I think that if they both play at least a drive or two, then this is a smash over for me. Especially with Devontae Smith, dealing with an injury. I think that, Hurts is going to target AJ early and often. Okay, so Miles Sanders, total rushing yards 17.5. I'm going to go on the under on this just because the Eagles have about 6 running backs. I mean, they know what they really have in Sanders. They want to see what they have in some of their young guys and mix it up. I mean, Sanders doesn't even get the whole carry load during the regular season, so I don't really see him getting it in the preseason either. I think, they're going to mix in Gainwell. They're going to mix in Boston Scott, Kennedy Brooks. So I really don't think he's going to get to this yardage total, especially with them wanting Hurts to throw a little more than usual.
Yeah. If this was not the first preseason game, then I would probably be leaning more towards the over. But like he says, the first live action game, we've got a lot going on in this backfield, a lot of pieces to sort out. So Sanders, as good as the Eagles offensive line is or projects to be, with, granted that Kelsey's ready for the season to come back in, at center there. I think that, again, with all the work we're probably going to see from guys like a Gainwell, Boston Scott, even a Kennedy Brooks, I think that's going to cut into this total here. So I'm sticking with the under here as well.
Excellent. It's nice to agree again.
Right? Been a while.
All right. All right, so Packers versus the 49ers, total points 33.5. What do you think about that?
It just seems like a fun game. Packers 49ers is always fun, even preseason. But so I'm just going to go over here because I think that there's the Packers are going to have a lot to sort out on offense. I think in the respect that Devontae Adams being gone, you are going to kind of want to figure out what the offense is going to look like, how run heavy it's going to be. And I think this will be a good chance for, Aaron Rodgers, not so much, but for a Jordan Love who, he's playing, for the most part to show people that, don't forget about me if and when Rodgers is gone. So I think we're going to see him get some run. I think he's shown enough that I feel like he can lead Packers to some points. And on the 49ers side, there's just a lot of Again, you're talking about a lot to sort out. You could be going in with a whole new quarterback. If Garoppolo doesn't get traded, and as everyone expects, Trey Lance is going to take over this team. So I think this will be a good time, at least for the 49ers offense, too, to kind of sort out some of the things they've got going on, too. So for that reason, I feel like we could see enough first team and high profile players play long enough to help. And then I think that with the depth, I think we may get just over, but I still think I go overs because it's a fun game. I want to go over too. So
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I want to I'm going to hit the over as well. This game has a lot of rookies that I want to see. I want to see how Romeo Doubs plays. I want to see how Christian Watson plays. I want to see how Davis Price plays, the running back for the 49ers. So I think that, with all those guys, like you said, they're going to want Jordan Love to play a bunch of the games. He's going to throw to some good receivers. They're going to want to feature their rookies. I think they're going to generate enough offense where the defenses aren't going to be as good in the second and third string to stop them compared to the offenses. So I think, this seems a little 33 is like right around where I think it might be. So, but I really, like you said, I think it will be creeping over the over by the end of the game. Speaking of Davis Price, total rushing yards 21.5. I think that this is going to be way over. I think that he's going to be, especially maybe in the second half of the game, the featured back. I think they're going to want to see what he can do in their system. I think, he generated a lot of little like underground hype amongst fantasy Twitter because he's running back for the 49ers. Anytime our 49ers drop to running back, he's either going to be a Hall of Famer or, cut the next day. So I think that, he'll play a large portion of the game, much like Zamir White did for the Raiders last week in the Hall of Fame game, and hit this over.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I think if you have a lock, I want a lock too. I'm gonna lock. This will be my lock.
Okay, good.
TDP on me over here, and I think touching on a lot of things you said, like he's already generating a little bit of underground fantasy hype and buzz as one of these mid to late, maybe not so much mid round, unless he breaks off a huge play or goes over 100 yards. Then forget about getting him at any sort of value at any sort of redraft league. But right. But I think the thing with him is that right now. All the talk about Niners camp is that Jeff Wilson is still slotted in as the number 2. Mm-hmm. And so he's not quite at that level yet. And, Trey Sermon's been having a good camp. So they could both be ahead of him. And I think that could be a reason we see him play a little bit later into the game just to kind of, get his legs under him too. And right. I think, normally, like you said, this is another team with a lot of guys to choose from in the backfield. And, couple of games now and some, a little bit more of the summer left to kind of figure out how you want the rotation to work. But it's the most important out of all these guys, I think, for TDP Yoga to get
that's a great fantasy name.
To get enough. Oh my God, that's my new team name, TDP Yoga.
There it is.
Look at that, make magic on the air.
There it is.
Smashing the over on this, definitely.
Absolutely. All right. I think. Nope. Last one. Okay. So Trey Sermon, total rushing yards 19.5. So what do you think about this one?
See, I'm a little bit mixed
on this one
because we didn't really see a lot of him last year. So, but I think he is going to get the veteran deference, that a TDP Yoga would not get in this situation. They're going to kind of make him play a little bit. Sermon, as well as he's been doing, and as much as he probably should maybe play a little bit of live action, I don't know if he's going to play enough to hit this total. So I'm actually going to go under on Sermon and again, it's just the time of the year where everybody looks good. So
right.
who really knows? I'm going under on Sermon.
Right. Yeah, this is tough. I think he'll get maybe just enough work to maybe hit this, but I think I'll go under as well. I think, they're going to want to see what other running backs have to offer in the first preseason game. I think, Sermon's been there for a year, so I think he might get more run. If this were like the second or third preseason game, I'd probably hit the over on this. Mm-hmm. But since it's the first one, I think that, TDP Yoga will probably get most of the carries. I'm only calling him that from now on, by the way.
Love it.
That's for the rest of the time. I think that he'll get more of the carries. I think, the other running backs on the roster, they still Hasty. They have Wilson. Elijah Mitchell might get a carry or two. So I just think that Sermon won't get the carries necessary to get to that yardage. Everyone's favorite draft sleeper of last year, Amari Rodgers, total receiving yards to 20.5. For me, I think this is going to be an over. I think that Green Bay's going to throw a bunch after like the Cobb, Watkins, Lazard like first team. I think Watson, Dobbs, Rodgers is going to be primarily the second team wide receiver core in this game. So I think Rodgers is going to get enough. Being the quote unquote veteran of that group. I think he'll get enough targets to reach that total playing, probably either second, third quarter or majority of the second half for me. So I'm gonna hit the over on this one.
I'm gonna end agreeing with you here again too on the over here. So we can end on that high note.
Excellent.
So he's one of these guys too with this new Packers receiver core that this is a really good spot for him to kind of have a big game, and if he can smash this over 20.5 yards, because he's a good enough player to do it. He's a one of these early-ish round Clemson receivers and he's he can run, he's got special team ability. And I think this is a good chance for him to kind of move beyond that role and really kind of show that you can use him in this offense. I mean, if Christian Watson, I know he hasn't been practicing as much as, some of these other guys like the Romeo Doubses of the world, anything like that, but like Rodgers has a good chance, I think, over the next couple of weeks to really kind of maybe a year late cash in on that sleeper status. I mean, I had him in pretty much. I think I picked him up in almost every dynasty league.
I think you did, yeah.
And he's probably off my roster in some of them already.
Yeah, but exactly.
I think this is even though we could see some of his touches dispersed if they do want to maybe run him a little bit out of the backfield just to change things up. You never know. But I think the over here is a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. I think it seems like it's forever ago, this last year, but he was a third round pick for a reason. I think once you get a couple of years into league, draft capital doesn't matter as much, but this is his first, non-rookie camp. He's like the veteran of the second tier receiver group, as I said. So like I said, this is going to be a great chance for him to kind of establish, maybe, break into that starting lineup, because Randall Cobb is not a spring chicken. Sammy Watkins is going to be a great week one and then disappear for the rest of the season like he always does. Yeah. So there's going to be opportunities and targets for him if he can take advantage of what he's been given and go get them. So
draft Sammy Watkins, playing week one, cut him. Got it.
Trade him. No, you trade him.
Or trade him. That's it.
Yeah. All right. That is all 12 actually. So that will wrap it up for today. Ray, that was your first experience on Daily Dozen. What did you think of that? How do you feel about your picks?
Man. I love my wife and I have made a several year-long habit out of arguing over-unders for games. So this is kind of right up my alley.
Now it's on tape, so we can go back and see when you're wrong or not.
That's true. And
she can hold it against you.
I hit my lock. If you hit your lock, yes, yeah, we do. I don't know how many we are off on, but we did agree on some. But there are a couple diverging points here, as there probably should be.
There should be, yeah. Agreeing all the time is not fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed your lock. That was a very good lock and your lock. So be sure to play Daily Dozen. It's on the app right now. Download the app. If you don't have it, you can use a QR code and download that. But be sure to play the paid version. People are getting 12 and 12 on free. All you have to do is hit 7 and 12 on the paid, and you get your money back and start winning some money. So stop winning nothing. Get money. Enjoy giving away money. Go get it. So Ray, any projects you have coming up or anything you want to highlight before we get off the air?
It's been a little quiet on the football front for me for a little while. Still planning on contributing a little bit to Roto Underworld player profile here and there. Right now, I'm kind of focusing on I don't want to say my return to pro wrestling, because I technically made my return a couple months ago. But I got a big show tomorrow. Got a big match tomorrow at Summer Inferno, Lakewood, New Jersey, 560 Cross Street.
So definitely go check that out. If everyone doesn't know, Ray is actually professional. Ray is actually a professional wrestler for real. So definitely check it out. It's going to be a great show, and hopefully we will see you next week for more Daily Dozen, and enjoy the next slate of preseason games and the weekend. Check you later.